Let's work through questions 3 and 4 on your linear equation revision sheets. Alright, so it says to use the table to identify the linear equation. So I've reminded you many times now that the word linear equation and the word rule, or I should say the term linear equation and the term rule, they mean the same. So I'm pretty sure your textbook uses the word find the rule, whereas in your test and other activities we've done you might come across find the linear equation for the set of values. Hopefully by now you know the first thing you need to identify is the pattern. So we've been saying P for pattern. Okay, and once you've identified the pattern, it comes up and becomes your pronumeral in your equation. So it's always going to be y equals, and our pattern here, if the negative numbers confuse you, look at your positives, 2 to 5 to 8 to 11 to 14. The pattern is increasing by 3. So positive 3 is your pronumeral sitting with your x. Then we look for what we call the treasure box. The treasure box is whatever is under that 0, and it's a 5 or a positive 5, so the rest of our rule is plus 5. We've talked about also that in your test, if you want to get an A, you need to communicate and justify your thinking. So we've created this rule, y equals 3x plus 5. We need to justify. To do so, pick any pair of coordinates. Okay, let's choose the 2 and the 11 to justify and check. So our x value is 2, our y value is 11. Let's take it into our equation of y equals 3 multiplied by x. So our x here, remember, is 2. So 2 comes into our equation instead of the variable, plus 5. Okay, so 3 times 2 is 6. 6 plus 5 is 11, which we are happy about because now we have a 2 slotted into our equation and the outcome was y equals 11, which justifies our rule or our linear equation. This time, once we look at the pattern, P for pattern, P for pronumeral, we see it's going down by 2. So our pattern is decreasing in 2. That means if we bring it up here to become our pronumeral, we have y equals negative 2x. Okay, because it's going down by 2 or decreasing by 2, it has to be a negative pronumeral. Now this time we don't have that treasure box of 0 and underneath. So here you have to create or predict the treasure box. So here it's negative 6, negative 5, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0 would be the next one in the pattern or in line, and therefore this would be negative 9. Okay, so then the rest of your rule is take away 9 because of our magic treasure box there. Alright, let's try this rule. Y equals negative 2x take away 9. Let's check it using a pair of coordinates. Okay, let's use, 2 and negative 5. Well, let's do one from this end. Let's go negative 7 and 5. So you know you can pick any pair of coordinates when you're checking. So y equals negative 2 multiplied by our x here is negative 7, and our rule says to take away 9. Y equals, okay, so if you're using your calculator, great. If not, negative times a negative actually gives a positive 14. 2 like signs gives a positive. So we've got 14 take away 9, y equals 5. 14 take away 9 is 5, which is perfect. Y equals 5, y equals 5. Okay, so find your pattern, use it as your pronumeral, find your 0 treasure box, and it's the number underneath to finish off your rule. Then it's a really good idea to check your rule in your test number one, to prove that it's correct for yourself, but also to get an A for that communication part of your mark. Question 4 is the same process really, but with one extra step. The extra step is to go back and read off the graph. Alright, so in class we always talk about reading a graph like we do a book, reading from left to right and stopping when you hit your first bullet point. So this here, that's our first bullet point. And if we look at it, it's -2 on the x-axis and it's come down to -4 on the y-axis. Okay, if we think about our x, they have to be in order. -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So our x values are always in order and our y values will give us our patterns. So coming up here, x has to be -1, okay, and our y is also -1. Okay, going up, yep, we're on 0 on the x-axis, 0, but we've gone up to the 2. Okay, this time we're on 1 on the y-axis, but we've gone up to the 5. Okay, this time we're on 2 on the x-axis and we've gone up to the 8. Okay, so we don't have any more bullet points, or sorry, dots on the graph or Cartesian plane for these, but if you look at the pattern, you can see it's going up by 3. So you can fill that in. Now we're going to do what we did before. Y equals your pattern. Your pattern is increasing by 3, so it has to be positive 3x. And then you look at your treasure box here for the rest. So the 0 is your checkpoint and it's +2 or +2 underneath. Let's check using a pair of coordinates. Let's check using the 1 and the 5. It doesn't matter which pair you choose. Okay, so y equals 3x plus 2. Let's check that. Y equals 3 multiplied by, oh yeah, 1. We'll choose this pair, so the 1 is our x, plus 2. Y equals, or 3 times 1 is 3. 3 plus 2 gives me 5. Okay, so y equals 5 and y equals 5. So make sure you can read off the graph. Go back to those textbook questions if you find that that's your weakness, page 535. Around that area, there's lots of graphs for you to look at to make sure you can read off it to fill in your table to then find your rule.